Welcome to this week's Ask GMBN show. I'm joined by Martyn Ashton. We got loads of questions coming in this week, Mart.
Yeah, some good ones actually, some challenging ones. Yeah.
Right.
If there was one question, right, one area of questions you'd like this week, Chris, what would it be?
Street and jump bikes, I think. Hardtails.
Unlucky. Let's get into the first question. Right, Desi Boy MTB is saying, my group set is finally on its last kilometres. What do I go to, 1x11 or 1x12? Need to keep the price in there. Don't have a fortune to spend. So, Chris, what would you do, 1x11, 1x12?
Well, I think it's 1x12. Obviously, it's going to be at a higher end. You know, you need a lot of money to get a 12-speed group set on your bike.
Because it's newer tech.
Yeah, newer tech, and there's obviously more material. You've got that extra cog on the cassette, and it's a lot more newer. So I think the 1x11 would be the one to be going for. A lot of options there from SRAM and Shimano, obviously. Personal preference on those things. But
yeah. Well, actually, I did speak to Master Claudio in the back end, right? He's basically like a living algorithm.
Right.
And I asked him to suggest a couple of things, right? So he said you could go for the NX Eagle 12-speed, which is good because you don't need the SRAM XD driver free hub, so you could use a Shimano free hub, so that might help if that's what you've got. And that's around 225 for a full group set. Right. Found that in his algorithm life. Yeah, remember, this guy's just numbers. He's not even a real person. Shimano SLX or XT11 speed. You know, lots of people do prefer Shimano or seem to, especially if you're just getting into sport. Shimano's like, I need a Shimano.
Yeah, and one thing you definitely need to bear in mind is that freehub body that Mark mentioned earlier. Whether it's the Shimano, which is like a splined freehub body, you've got the SRAM XD, which is just like it's not a spline body, it's just got a thread at the end of it to put the cassette on, so you need to check that first. I'm thinking it will probably be a Shimano freehub body.
It's likely.
Freehub body on there.
So that Shimano SLX or XT comes in at $240 for the SLX and £315 for the XT. This is pounds I'm talking about. He says both are excellent. 12-speed has wider range, obviously, like Chris, but it is down to personal preference. But there's affordable group sets out there if you're going for the one buys. Yeah, so there you go. Hope that was helpful.
Got this one in from Aaron Ashmole. He's asking, Ask GMBN, what would the effects of putting a 27.5 fork on a 26-inch bike?
Oh, that's sort of counterintuitive. I would be thinking, can I put 27.5s on my 26-inch bike? But I guess you've got a 27.5 fork for some reason, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to fit it to my 26-inch bike. So you're going to get a raise in the front end in terms of geometry. Bottom bracket's going to go up.
Yeah, slacken the head angle off.
Yeah, it could slacken it. It could potentially feel okay.
Yeah.
It could look weird.
No, it's not going to be a massive jump, but slightly noticeable. It depends what sort of travel the fork is as well. Obviously, if the original fork was 120mm and you're putting a 100mm 27.5 fork on it, it's not probably going to feel that much different. Especially if you run it a little bit softer, you can obviously get away with running it a little bit softer. It's going to make it a shorter fork, or make it preloaded, make it stiffer. It's going to make it feel pretty similar. So
let's hypothetically, Chris, right? You've got a 26-inch wheel mountain bike. You think it's kind of done.
Yeah.
The front shock on it, say it's not great. Someone gives you a 27.5 fork. Are you going to put it on there?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go. That's the answer you're after. Right, next up, No Name says, would a fat bike help with the Andes Pacifico race? Okay, so that's this kind of stuff that Neil and Blake were doing. If you have a look, it's really dusty trails. It looks lovely, actually. But yeah, you can see that there's not a lot of grip there, so you might be thinking a fat bike could work there, but Chris, it's not true, is it?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, a fat bike's for sand and snow. Well, extreme sand, obviously, it's a bit dusty out there, but not quite sand. It's definitely not snowing.
No, it's definitely not snowing there, and some of the climbs those guys have to do just to get to their sort of start points on the downhill sections of that race are brutal. So getting up there on a fat bike would be really hard. So really, a fat bike is helping you support on very loose terrain where you would potentially literally drop down into it on a thinner tyre, and you wouldn't be able to steer or ride through it. So
not the ideal tool for this specific idea.
It's a big fat no. But to help you understand the fat bike, here's a little clip of fat bike versus enduro bike with Blake Sampson.
Well, that bit was really comfortable and fun. Tech, bit rough at the bottom there. I think fat bike's gonna struggle here. I think I got this one in the bag. definitely faster. Horrible feeling about this. That was a bit uncomfortable, a little bit. Didn't like that one. I felt myself was a little bit slow there, bouncing all over the place. He's got an advantage, he's got a full suspension bike. He can take up all that rough stuff into that turn. He's dropped. It was fun, but I think Trail Bike Guy has got one up on me on this one. I think he's taken both of them. Did a nice skid here though, but according to him, trail bike, it's not about having fun, it's about going fast. Oh, that's way fast. I think I definitely win this challenge. I was fast through there.
Love fat bikes. They are great. They are great. Right, next question. I don't really know what this name is, Chris. It's numbers and letters together, but it's 3M1LW1K. I don't know if there's like a name in there that I'm not seeing. I
can't see it either.
Anyway, I hope you know you are. It says, hey guys, I bought a new bike about 6 months ago and I've already broken a rear derailleur and my rear rim.
Good work.
Wow. Is that normal or am I just a bad rider? I've had one big crash in the time I had the bike. Well, Chris, over to you.
Oh, thank you. You sound like I know what I'm talking about for that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've done some big old drops and things on your bike, but you probably haven't crushed many rear wheels.
I've done one. I did this massive street gap, which I come up short, and it actually snapped straight through my rim. That's my best effort yet.
But that would have been landing on literally a right angle edge, right?
And going about 20 mile an hour from a wall to another wall, and it didn't quite make it.
So it's harsh to say you're a bad rider, but you've probably landed something incorrectly.
Yeah,
is how I would say it, because it's very hard to break a wheel vertically. They're very, very strong. You can tackle a wheel quite easily, but they can be trued up usually.
Definitely, it depends on the sort of money. You know, if you're on a very cheap bike, then some of the stuff you might see, like this guy's doing in the videos, does require a little bit stronger equipment.
Yes.
Would you agree with that, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sometimes you've got to be aware of the limits of the sort of cheaper products there are. But a wheel is hard to break, so that is unfortunate. Derailleur, well, we can all smack a derailleur off. We've all hit a rock or two. That's not that uncommon. But hopefully you can find some cheap replacements and you can keep it going. But it's shame you've had some crashes early on in your riding career. Right, next question is from GD Botha. And he says, I started riding flat pedals, then I started XC racing and switched over to clipless. It's all going fine, right? Then about 5 months, switched back to flat pedals, and now he can't ride for toffee. His feet keep coming off, he feels uncomfortable. Basically, his brain has forgotten how to use flat pedals.
Sounds like it.
What do you do?
I think it can get you into bad habits, especially if you're coming from a lot of time spent on clips. I'm primarily a flat pedal rider, but I do ride clips for big cross-country rides. But I do know a lot of people that I see riding like jumps and doing tricks and things that they could only do on clip pedals. And for instance, bunny hopping with clip pedals, a lot of those guys really rely on the power of their clips to pull the bike up, whereas you stick them on a set of flats, they can barely bunny hop up a curb. So I think you really need to be spending a lot more time on the flat pedals and get used to that and learn some proper, I don't want to say proper bike technique, but is it proper bike technique?
Well, I know what you mean. I mean, it's good technique to know. It certainly will benefit you even when you're back on clip pedals. But it's only a matter of spending a bit of time on the flats. And maybe going back to some basics on something like a bunny hop, because that will really start drawing you into handling those flat pedals.
I think you can definitely go from flats. You take the techniques from flats to clips, but you can't take clips to flats.
Good point. While we're talking about pedals, let's take a look at when Blake tried using clip pedals.
That was so good, that. Whoa!
So you've obviously still got a few things to master. You're not going to get this overnight.
Oh, no way.
What did you reckon though? How you been getting
That
on?
was really good fun. It's totally different because I've never ridden clip pedals, but using the clips to get more power down, you're pushing but you're pulling as well, which is pretty cool. And then on the rough stuff you can lift up the back wheel at slow speed,
place it on the trail.
I think I'm going to use it. I think I'm going to try it. But if I was to do a race like the Mega Avalanche, I don't know, because because I want my feet to be everywhere.
Yeah, but do you know what? First half, fair enough. Second half, you need the horsepower.
True.
It gets tiring down there.
That is true.
So we have this one in from Lewis Craig. He's saying, I usually ride pump tracks on my hardtails, but recently tagged a few pump track laps onto the end of a trail ride at the Forest of Dean on my full suspension trail bike, which is an Orange 4. He says, I found I was gaining speed easier than on my hardtail. I really didn't expect that. Is it down to bad technique on my part or bike geometry, etc.? And I run faster rolling tyres on my hardtail.
It's sort of the wrong way round.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I reckon I've got a solution to this though, Chris, right? Check this out, right? Because I think I know that pump track. That actually is one that's near us.
Right.
It's descending slightly.
Is it?
Unlike a lot of pump tracks that tend to be pretty level.
Yeah.
This one's got a bit of descent to it.
Okay.
So it might be that you've got the bike rolling off of one particular transition that happens to work for the suspension.
Yeah.
Because that can happen. Sometimes it just
definitely,
fits.
yeah.
And then you're off and you've gathered some speed that maybe the hardtail wasn't helping you with.
Yeah.
If you took the full sus to a proper, say, tarmacked pump track, and try to outpace your hardtail, it will be very difficult.
Yeah, definitely. I think in pump tracks as well, you make a lot of speed up in the corners with a hardtail. It really rails those corners really well, and a full suspension bike obviously sits in, it sags into the corners, and you actually lose a lot of energy out the end of a berm or a corner from a full suspension bike, whereas a hardtail just holds speed, and you can obviously pump all the pumps properly on a hardtail. It would be a load slower on a full suspension bike. So.
Yeah, so I would suggest getting that old hardtail down the pump track, nice hard tyres, that works,
Yeah.
and just doing some laps and getting some practice, just catching those pump points that really, when you catch it, you really feel the bike gaining momentum. Almost the difficult bit about a pump track is once you're gaining speed, it's hard to control the speed.
Exactly.
It gets too quick. So that's how much sort of speed you can get out of the trail. So go and practice with the rigid bike. Next question is from Jamie Stanley, and he's saying, hey guys, I'm currently running Tektro Gemini comp brakes on my base model 2019 Stumpy, but they're really not very good. I'm new to the sport, so I'm clueless about what's good and what's not. What brakes would you recommend? Bike parks and trail riding for me. Thanks. What do you think, Chris? There are other brakes, but is that what he needs to do?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, in your question, you're asking, you're saying that they're not good. I'm wondering what's not good about them. Is it the actual stopping power, or is it the lever feel? There's lots of different things to consider when it comes to brakes.
Points.
But if it's power, then I would look at maybe your brakes being contaminated, something like that. It's quite easy, especially when you're like lubing your chain to overspray, especially the rear rotor with like lube and stuff, so it can contaminate the rotor, and it means that the brake will be really weak as well. So if that's what you're experiencing, it could be worth just swapping the brake pads out, cleaning the rotor out, and give them a bit of a refresh. And to be fair, like the Tektro brakes are as good as any. Like the modern day hydraulic disc brakes, you're pretty hard to beat, even with some of the bigger names. But
that's really interesting. So put a bit of time into those brakes first.
I think that's really good.
I mean, there are some great brake brands out there. There's the Shimano XTR SLX, and you've got SRAM guide brakes. You've got Hope, which are amazing brakes. Magura, of course. But maybe just stick with those brakes and see if you can get them working yourself. You'll learn a lot about your bike at the same time. So it's a good question.
Yeah, next one in from Yardstick 401. What are you supposed to do if you lost trust in your local bike shops or live very far from a good one, but certain manufacturers require you to use a dealer network for warranty service?
Move. I would move. No, you don't need to do that. It's a strange one because it depends on why you've lost trust in your dealer. I mean, if there's a particularly bad dealer and he's not sort of really supporting you, then that's a real shame. But that's rare. Bike dealers are usually bike dealers because they're really into it.
Good,
and they want it. They've got to really love it because it's not the easiest industry to have a independent bike store. So I would give them another try. I would also speak to the manufacturer. Maybe they've got another shop they could recommend nearby if you really don't want to use that store. Or what about this, right? You do a bit of servicing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Great opportunity to start learning about the bike.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you on this and say that's a good thing to do. Head over to this hit list here of the GMBN Tech series. Basically, a beginner's guide to servicing your bike. So you can check that out, but take a look at a couple of these.
This is the GMBN Tech Essentials series, our easy to follow guide to maintaining and setting up your bike. With a bit of basic understanding, just a few tools, you can all be looking after your bikes at home, which basically means in the long run it is going to save you money.
Time for a correct me if I'm wrong, and the theme tune to that goes like this. Wow, you did that without moving your lips. That was pretty good. I do like correct me if I'm wrong. If you want to send a video in to us for this part of the show, you can go to the GMBN uploader, which is what Charlie has done.
Yeah.
Now, Charlie is taking on this jump, Chris. Take a look. Okay, what he's saying is he built the balls up to try this gap jump.
Good work.
And he's coming in all right, and he just...
Oh, it just tags it a little bit.
He says the running is very rooty, about 10 metres from the takeoff. I'm at the back, obviously, that's him at the back there. He's scared to try the jump again because of what happened. What would you say about that jump, Chris?
I think he's just trying to push his limits a little bit too far, although it is always good, obviously, to push your limits to progress, but I feel this is taking off a little bit more than he can chew. I think just need to dial in your jump technique on a little bit smaller jumps. It looks to me like you're coming into this absolutely crapping yourself.
Yeah.
And you're actually holding on, you've gone stiff off the lip, you're not really committed to the jump as well. You're just sort of holding on, you've gone stiff and you just cased a little bit, and then it's caused you to like slide as you come out of it. So just come into there, I think, with a bit more confidence, a little bit more speed, should see you go, you know, fine over it. But I don't think it wasn't a bad crash or anything. You just literally slip the pedals. Yeah. So I think you'll be fine. You just hit a little bit faster, a little bit more relaxed, a bit more pop. You got it.
Yeah, sometimes speed is your friend.
Exactly.
And I think you've done a great job. It was an official send. So well done, and thanks for sending us in the video. Thanks for watching this week. Been a lot of fun. If you've got a question for next week's show, then it's in the comments down below. Hashtag Ask GMBN, and we will get onto those questions in due course.
Yep.
If you want to stay with GMBN, then why don't you check out our mini kicker challenge with Blake Sampson and Ollie Wilkins? Very funny video.
And don't forget, you can subscribe to GMBN by clicking the globe in the middle of the screen. Give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed today's show. Keep sending those questions in.